Welcome to the engineering skill perk choices that I make. For the purposes of the video, we are going to assume that all of them are working as intended. So if any are broke, when they are fixed, this will still be a good guide to have. The purpose of this video is not for me so much to say this is the right perk to take, because everybody has their own opinion on perks, but for you to see which ones I take, why I take them. So hopefully I can open your eyes to maybe a perk that you have not taken before. At 25, we have Scaffold, which is plus 10% build speed to non-range siege engines, and a personal perk of plus 30% shield hit points, with Torsen engines plus 10% build speed to range siege engines, and plus 3 damage to equipped crossbows, which is personal. For me, I always go with range. I want them to get built as quick as possible. Normally, I don't build a lot of rams and towers. That's not important. But to get your three major ones built. So if it's not a governor or an engineer, you're probably going to end up taking, if he has crossbows, obviously crossbows. If not, take shields. But for everybody, for party leaders and myself, I am taking range all the time. At 50, we have Dungeon Architect, which is minus 25% chance of ranged siege engines getting hit while under bombardment, and a minus 25% escape chance for prisoners in dungeons of government settlements, which that is a governor. And then we have Siege Works, plus 10% HP to ranged siege engines, and then the governor plus one pre-built catapult to the settlement when a siege starts in a governed settlement. Let's deal with the governor first and foremost. It all depends on if you're going to be collecting prisoners. If you're not collecting prisoners, you take Siege Works for the pre-built catapult. If you are collecting prisoners, then obviously you would take Dungeon Architect to try to reduce that escape chance. Now for your engineer. This is one that's always been kind of up in the air, and I kind of went back to Strat Gaming's. The 25% chance to get hit or 10% more HP. I think the 25% chance is actually better. I don't think 10% is a lot of HP to get, which is why I honestly take Dungeon Architect. So, really, when it comes down to party leaders and governors, I am going to take Dungeon Architect all the time unless I'm not getting prisoners, and then the governor will take siege work. At 75, Carpenters plus 33% HP to rams and towers, and a governor plus 12% build speed for projects in a governed town with military planner, plus 50% ammunition to range troops when besieging, and plus 25% build speed for projects in a governed castle, which is the governor. So obviously, it's pretty easy for a governor. Do you have a town or do you have a castle? If it's a town, carpenters. If it's a castle, military planner. For an engineer, most of the time I will take ammunition for everyone. I want that 50% extra. It is incredible. Rams and towers, they do get hit quite often, but they don't really get destroyed that much. Honestly, for me, for every one of my party leaders, I'm taking military planner. And then the governor, just do you have a castle or do you have a town? At 100, Dreadful Besieger plus 10% accuracy to your siege engines during siege bombardments in a governed settlement, and a captive perk 5% crossbow damage by troops near formation, where Wallbreaker plus 25% damage dealt to walls during a siege bombardment, and the captive perk plus 10% damage dealt to shields by troops in your formation. Obviously, that's once again easy for a captain. Is your captain going to have a lot of crossbows? If not, then just take the damage shield. But if it is a crossbow heavy, then obviously you would take Besieger. All your party leaders are going to take Wallbreaker because it's engineer, and your governor is going to take Besieger because it's the governor perk. So it's pretty easy to make yourself, your party leaders, your governors, they're all set in stone. The only thing is, captains, do you have crossbows or not? At 125, Foreman plus 10% Mongonal and Trebuchet accuracy, and a governor perk plus 100 prosperity when a project is finished in a governed settlement, where we have Salvager plus 20% accuracy to ballistas during siege bombardment, and a governor perk plus 0.1% siege engine build speed increases for each militia. Let's go ahead and we'll deal with the engineer first. Do you use more ballistas? Then you use Salvager. If not, you use Foreman. Okay, party leaders and your engineer, done. Governor, Do you want the 100 prosperity? To me, 100 prosperity is not a lot. I can get over 5 to 6 prosperity per day, and you don't finish projects that often, normally every 15 to 30 days. That 100 prosperity is not a lot. Now, when you take plus 0.1% siege engine build speed increase for each militia, most towns can have 200 to 300 militia pretty consistently. And if you play your cards right, you could have anywhere from 5 to 700 militia. That means you can get anywhere from 20 to 70% more build speed for your siege engines. Really? It's kind of a no-brainer for me in that I am always gonna, for the governor, take salvager. I want them to be able to build those siege engines as quickly as possible, especially in castles where they don't seem to build them that fast. 150 siege engineer plus 30% HP to defensive siege engines in a government settlement, and the engineer fire versions of siege engines can be constructed, where stonecutters is plus 30% build speed for fortification, aqueduct, and barrack projects in a governed settlement. And then the fire version. So let's deal with the engineer first. Engineer, it doesn't really matter because they're both the same, just fire versions of it. Now for the governor, this is where I kind of go with siege engineer instead of stonecutters because normally I don't build a lot of fortification, aqueducts, and barracks. I do love fortification, but it takes a long time to build those. I believe those are the longest ones to build, the walls. So I normally am not building them, and I would very much rather have the 30% HP to all defensive siege engines. So for most everybody, I will go with siege engineer, and normally I just pick that for everyone because I really don't use stonecutters at all. 175 battlements plus 1 pre-built ballista when you set up a siege camp, and a governor plus 100 maximum granary capacity in a governor settlement, where camp building is minus 50% cohesion loss of armies when besieging, and a engineer of minus 20% casualty chance from siege bombardment. All right, governor first. Obviously, battlements. The granary is nice. Another 100 capacity, you can't argue with that. For yourself, this is where you need to take that thought process. Are you that worried about cohesion and influence? Because then you're going to take the camp buildings and the minus 20% chance of casualties during siege bombardments. They kind of go hand in hand. But really, what it comes down to is, do you want a pre built ballista? I don't normally like ballistas. I would rather much have something that is going to hit multiple targets. So I don't really use a ballista that much. I would have rather have like trebuchets, which I think are the best because they have the most HP out of any of the siege equipment. So really, a governor is going to be battlements, and for everybody else, I'm going to take camp building, not so much for the cohesion loss, but the casualty chance reduction in siege bombardment. 200 apprenticeship plus 5 XP to troops when your siege engine is built, and a governor perk plus 1% prosperity gain for each unique project in the governed settlement. Engineering guild plus 1 recruitment slot when recruiting from artisan nobles, and a governor plus 25% wall HP in a governed settlement. So let's go ahead and first we'll deal with the governor. Once again, do you want the prosperity? If not, you would take the wall HP. So they don't normally break down walls, is kind of the thing that I look at. They have a hard time really getting their siege engines out, especially against towns because they are built fast. Now, against castles, that's a different story. For a castle governor, you might want to think about the wall HP. For the most part, though, for governors, I stick with apprenticeship. For engineers, party leaders, which one would you rather have? Would you rather have recruiting or would you rather have the XP? Recruiting isn't normally a problem for me, especially in a lot of towns. It might be nice to have, but I would rather have the XP when a siege engine is built because you're going to be building 4 or more siege engines. That's 20 XP. It is kind of a little wish wash there. Do you want the XP or do you want the recruiting? For the most part, though, I will end up going with apprenticeship just for the XP. I don't normally have the recruiting problem. So for a governor, I normally take the engineering guilds on castles, but apprenticeship for a town. For all party leaders and for myself, I normally take apprenticeship to get that extra XP. 225, improved tools plus 20% siege camp preparation speed, and then a captain plus 5% melee damage by troops in your formation, where we have metallurgy plus 30% chance to remove negative modifiers on looted items, and a captain plus 5 armor to all equipped armor pieces of troops in your formation. Now, this one is pretty darn tough. And you could honestly make a case for either of these for a party leader, an engineer, a captain. You can honestly do that. And I don't feel that there is a wrong choice at all. And you could argue any of them. With the bottom perk for captains, do you want more damage or do you want more survivability? Now, for myself, I am all about survivability. I do lean towards having metallurgy. The camp preparation speed is a huge thing. If you can build a camp before they build their first siege engine, you could just siege them with ladders and you don't need to potentially waste 5 to 10 days building siege equipment to get rid of their siege equipment. So that is really important. Now, the 30% chance to remove negative modifiers on looted items, all right, that is okay, especially if you get a really good item that is, let's say, rusty. It's an item that you would use. You could get rid of that. I do understand that. But honestly, later in the game, you're going to probably have enough money to buy everything you want. So I normally go for the camp preparation speed for everybody because I think it is the most important to do. And then for the captain, like I said, do you want offense or do you want defense? 250 architectural commissions plus 25% reload speed to Mongolols and trebuchets in siege bombardment, and a governor plus 20 gold per day for continuous projects in a governed settlement, where we have clockwork plus 25% reload speed to ballistas, and the governor plus 20% effective from boosting projects in a governed town. Let's get rid of the engineers and party leaders. What equipment are you using? That's what you pick. Pretty darn simple. The only sticking point is the governor. Cost 20 gold per day for continuous projects. That ain't much. I don't know why it's only 20. But then again, the plus 20% effect from boosting projects in a governed town, I've noticed that the effects from boosting isn't much. So if you're really building a town up, then you could run clockwork. And then once it's completely done, you could switch over to architectural commissions for the gold. But honestly, the gold isn't that much. And if you've hit this point in the game, then you could probably be using that governor and just every time you take a fief, have him building projects. Have him move from fief to fief doing all the building for you. So you don't normally get 250 on an engineer in a game. So I would go with clockwork just so you can get your stuff built faster because the gold just isn't worth it. So for party leaders, you would take whichever one you're going to build for reload speed. And then for your governor, most of the times I'm just going to take clockwork. I don't really care about that little bit of gold. And then, of course, at 275 masterwork plus 1% damage for each engineering skill point over 250 for a siege engine in siege bombardment. Pretty standard normal at 25% right away, can get it up around 40, 50%, which is pretty cool. I wouldn't say that it's not bad at all. You can get it up a lot higher than that, so they can do a ton of damage. Engineering does have some nice perks into it. However, engineering is not the most important thing. As most people know, the more troops you have in an army, the faster you're going to build stuff. I honestly think you could probably build things faster with 2,000 men and no engineering than with 1,000 men and 300 engineering. So it's just nice to have some of the perks there. But it's honestly, I think, really much better the skill itself for governors. You want them to be able to build faster in towns. And I think that's where the strength of engineering really comes in. It does have some really good ones, like the extra ammo. So there are things in the tree that are pretty good. But honestly, for me, once I get to about 100, 125, I don't really worry about engineering that much as the choices after that aren't insanely powerful. And it's just not that big of a concern for me. But because I run high intelligence anyways, I only need to put about 1 point into engineering, and I can hit my 125 perk and then just go with everything else for now. So it's not really an important thing for me. I'd rather have the troops, and I'd rather put the points someplace else. So while not insanely powerful, the first about perks in the 125 range, they are going to help you out a lot, but it is definitely more for your governor. So I hope this helped you out in some way. As always, my friends, take care, and thanks for watching.